So welcome back for you guys, and well, I guess really welcome back for me. I've been taking sort of a 3-month hiatus as I'm trying to figure out sort of the next step. But I wanted to give you guys an update, having been living in the bus now for 3 months, and we'll go through all the things that I wondered about over the course of the build, and then first started living in it. And again, in case there's any questions about you guys, but like, oh, geez, I kind of wonder about how this is going to play out in reality. Well, I've got 3 months of reality to share with you. So it's August now. I've been living in the bus since early June, and at the Northeast, it's been kind of a odd summer up here. I know many parts of the country have been super hot, but here, like, the forecast every day is cloudy, chance of showers, and so it hasn't been super warm. Although we've had I don't know 3, 4, 90-degree days, but it's been odd because it's threatened to rain a lot, but really hasn't rained a whole lot, and then just showers here, kind of spits on you. And because of 2 low snowpack winters, river level's really low. So if you don't know if you're first checking in, but I'm in the winter time. I'm sorry, in the summertime, I'm a raft guide in the Penobscot River. So I've been guiding rafts most days, and then the Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays we haven't been running trips. I'm a copywriter as well. And so I've been writing sales copy on those days. So it's been a good blend of being pretty physical in the river during the day, or during the days that I'm guiding, and then doing some intellectual work and letting my body heal up on those off days. So odd summer, I guess, weather-wise and water level-wise, but great summer living in the bus. So living in the bus in a campground on the river, and that kind of old joke about living in a van down by the river and being sort of looked down upon, but now it's sort of envious. Everybody wants to do that, so I've been pretty lucky. The campground is off-grid, meaning there's very limited access to power and internet. We do have satellite service. You can kind of get a signal in, but anybody who's had satellites knows that you use up the bandwidth really quickly in the office, and so can really just kind of get emails out, and it's pretty slow. Similarly with the power, we've got a solar panels and a generator that the campground runs off, and so you'll have periodic power. Sometimes during the day, as much as depending on how sunny it is or how much you run the generator, but it's pretty limited. Can't really run AC or stuff like that. Just kind of enough to charge the batteries to run lights and the pump and things like that. It's adequate, but like I said, if I was going to run air conditioners or all that stuff, I'd have to either upgrade my solar system or use a generator. So. But I have access to water. There's not that I have a private hookup. I just have a hose that's 30 feet from the bus, and so I can fill up my tanks. And I have places where I can dump the gray water. So it's pretty convenient, though not completely. Self-sustaining. It's not super. So I don't have like the amount of power and water that would be considered normal for a house, but it's certainly adequate and enough to get what we need. So we've been 3 people moving in and out of the bus, I guess. I'm here full time, all the time. My lovely bride Julie will pop up. She's still working in the hospital odd times. She's per diem, so she can set her schedule, but she'll go back 3 hours south to work for a little bit, and then she'll come up for a week, or she'll go back to work 5 days, come up for 2. So she's been in and out of the bus. And then our 17-year-old daughter has been living up here. She worked at summer camp first part of the summer, but now she's working up here for a couple different rafting companies, cooking lunches and taking photos, and so she's here as well. She prefers to have a tent just outside, more so, I think. Well, she's got her own space, but also, because I'm an early riser, I'll be up banging around, so, rather than disturb her, she's got her own sort of spot. But it's certainly cozy, but certainly the 200 square feet of living space here has been, again, comfortable and cozy and adequate for the 3 people moving in and out of the summer. So I am also in the off season a high school teacher, and so I have to go back for dreadful teacher meetings tomorrow. And so I thought, geez, I want to do an update for everybody. So I get up this morning, and I really haven't done anything as far as, so I'm going to show you sort of a real look about what the bus looks like for my living style or my lifestyle, which isn't always super meticulous as far as putting things away. So get to see the reality, but I'm going to go through sort of the different features of, I guess, things that I wondered about when I was building the bus, and stuff that I thought that you might want to know, again, what's the reality. So let's talk about some realities. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I managed to go in and get the cruise control set. Again, a lot of school buses are governed at a particular speed based on law, and this bus that came from New York, they were governed at 65, and even then the cruise control would only work at 55. Now I know there's a big sentiment out there that school buses aren't built for speed, and you're supposed to, enjoy the ride and the journey as much as the destination, and I just can't do that when I'm driving down the highway. I got to go a little bit faster than that. I tend to get impatient to get to my spot. So I did go in and say, hey, can you govern this at 73 and set the cruise control for that? And it did. It cost me $40 at the international dealership, and which is awesome. So I am pleasantly pleased. That's an interesting way. I love the way the kitchen came out. I will say, so we got if you saw the countertop, it was an epoxy butcher block countertop. I will say that the epoxy tends to scratch a little bit. So, if you're going to get worried about scratching on your countertop, maybe a butcher block with just an oil finish would hide the scratches a little bit. But not that I find it horrible or ugly or terrible, but it certainly does susceptible to scratches, so I want to be careful of that. However, I am loving the big sink. It's a great place to wash the dishes, and I've been just sort of leaving them in there to dry in the rack. There's a little rack at the bottom, so that's been great. And I'm really liking the way sort of our down so you can see this a little bit better. We're gonna do the food prep here, chop, 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 and everything can kind of go right into the trash or the recycling bin. So that's been really handy. The shelf up here has actually worked really well. It's a great sort of blend of, because Julie keeps putting the cups and the dishes and stuff down below in the drawers, but I like putting up there for easy access. Plus, I don't know, the stuff that some rafting guests give us, some of these cups will say Penobscot on them, so I just kind of like reminding myself of them, so I kind of put those up there. Every once in a while, it's a good place for like bananas and fruit, as long as you don't leave it up there too long, so it doesn't turn into a big blobbing mass. But so it's been, of course, I don't know why. My daughter's been keeping her rock collection up here too. I don't know. It's kind of somewhat of a catch-all, but it has been handy. It'd been nicer if it was just a little bit taller, but if you went lower, then you couldn't see through the window. So it's pretty adequate for what it does. I could do a better job under the sink. I'm discovering this with multiple places, and we'll kind of look at the closets as well, that you have sort of this empty space to put stuff in, and without knowing exactly what you're going to put in that space, it's hard to sort of define little cubbies and places to put things, and so it becomes a catch-all. And then in order to find something, you have to dig all through that. So I have to figure out some sort of shelf or drawer system. And I guess the other challenge is too, is like if you start filling in the space, stuff you put in that's bigger and drops down, like you can't get it out. So I have to do some more sposing on this to try to figure out a better way to organize the stuff that goes into these sort of catch-all spaces. I don't have any answers for that yet. And our closet here is a perfect example of like just a place that stuff gets dumped. Julie put these hooks in there and they seem to work all right, but I don't know, it seems to make maybe there's a better way to sort of make that space work. Similar here, we got our electrical closet, and I put some shelves in there and that seems to be working, but it's sort of an office space and place for towels, and I don't know, and spaces up here sort of just seem to be a catch-all for stuff, and so I got to find a better way of organizing that. But I'm definitely happy with the queen size bed option rather than going something a little bit smaller. Julie and I always argue over, well, I'm here full time, so I'm the one that sort of sleeps on the outside, but she still has to climb over me, which I don't think she's thrilled with all the time. And so that is, I think, an issue if you're thinking about going to bed. I'm I guess it's all horizontally, but crossways rather than lengthwise, to try to wrestle this. I suppose we could make it one end or the other. We could alternate every other week or whatever. I got to come up with that solution, but it is comfortable. What I have found is that I didn't put the rams in or the gas shocks to lift it, something like that. So I find it's almost impossible to lift. And when I put the shelf in up at the head, I can only get it so far anyway. So the space under the bed is not anywhere near as efficient as it could be. I just find myself crawling underneath it to sort of get stuff, and I don't really use it as well. I guess I put stuff under there that I'm not going to access all the time, stuff that you might need once in a while because it's a project to get to. So when you test that system, if you're going to lose something, we're going to lift up the bed and use storage underneath it, because it's not as easy as one would think. And speaking of convenience, the couch is pretty comfortable actually to sit in. We find ourselves using it quite a bit. Same thing over at sort of the breakfast area there. Use that table all the time. If you've seen any of the videos, you know that this actually does pull out into a bed, which we've used, functions fine, and actually do have a sort of pull-out table that we can use. And I find that I think we've only used it once all summer, and I think it was raining. Just because it takes 5 minutes to set up, which doesn't seem like a long time, but you just kind of get. I think by nature you fall into whatever is the easiest thing to do, and if it's just easier to sit and hold your plate and do that, then we do that. So I'm glad that we actually have it for those situations where we really want to use it, but I find that we're just not really using it that much. And while I'm not sitting here because I'm kind of showing you that, this is kind of a catch-all at sometimes. Usually it's not like this, but a lot of times, my guitar's sitting out hanging around, or my computer, and my notebooks. Stuff every once in a while sort of just gets dumped here. That's just my lifestyle. To move it. But one of the hazards of living in a bus, I guess, you always have to have a place to put your stuff. Think about maybe putting some hooks up here to hang stuff on. Again, it's always it's a trick. It's like, all right, then you got to sort of reach through the light switch, or maybe on this wall as well. I definitely need to get some hooks up so I can sort of take advantage of that wall space. I do find myself wishing they had a full-size fridge. Again, like many things, it's certainly adequate. It works great. And again, for a vintage 70s fridge that I got for free, I have an old camper. Keeps everything cold. I can make ice in it. It's great. It's just small. I can definitely see myself upgrading to like a 12-volt full-length fridge eventually, but then I have to think about, all right, well, what do I do with all my storage space down here, pots and pans and plates and things like that, go down there. I have to sort of refigure that. So I don't know, always the trade-off of what what you want to pay for and what you're willing to give up. I'm really liking how the floor is performing. Super rugged. We went with a laminate because I looked at, again, if you looked at the floor video, they said that if the bus allowed to get really cold, when you're not using it in the wintertime, it would buckle or have problems with the vinyl floor. And so I went with a laminate because I wanted something that was one, pretty rugged, because we get the dog going around and don't want dog claws gouging it all up, but also it's waterproof. And as boaters, we come in, a lot of times, you try to change outside, but it's buggy or it's, I don't know, you still come in wet, and so, just dripping all over the floor. It cleans up super easy, and really pleased with it. What's cool though is I had to make these caps for the seat belts, and just in my wood shop I found these that match perfectly with the wood, so fortuitous. I wanted to talk a little bit about temperature. I know people ask, combination of the roof paint and the insulation and air conditioning and things like that. So again, we're in the Northeast. Most of the weather's been in the 70s, high 70s, 80s. We've had 3 or 4 days has been 90. I am, I guess, fortunate. I guess I park in the shade. I have 2 inches of insulation in the ceiling, Durabright on the roof, and I have screens in the windows. And I don't even have all screens in windows. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total windows that have screens in them. And we stayed relatively cool. Even on the hot 90 days, it hasn't been bad. Not that I'd require air conditioning for. I will say I'm right next to the river, so if it is hot, I can just go out and flop in the water when I need to. But it really hasn't been bad. I have the skylights. Couple things with the skylights. I need a system that I can. Right now, I got a yogurt cup holder, just kind of holding it open. This time of the year, the bugs aren't bad. So, but I need a couple things. I need to figure out a way to sort of raise them up and hold them in place without them flopping all open. And I also really should have screens in there so that I can open them when it's buggy out. Although then I always worry that I will forget to leave them open or rain in. So I don't know. Something I'm thinking about. And I think the other thing is I would have wired in some 12-volt fans that go from the house battery. I've got the fans that run in the front of the bus that run off the engine. The normal fans that run off the engine batteries. But I had the fans and I forgot to put a 12-inch lead in. I think I can tap off one of the wire feeds eventually, but I may reconsider putting fans in the bedroom for those hot nights. But for the most part, it stayed pretty good. I haven't suffered in the heat. So despite the screens, if you do have sort of just a regular door you come in and out without sort of a mudroom, you do get insects. I found every once in a while to come in. And what works really good is the zap racket. I know a lot of people have questions about water use, and that was one thing that I wondered a lot about too. How much water am I really going to use? So I found that go through about 30 gallons a week, and don't really shower. I mean, I'm in the river every day, so I don't worry about it a whole lot. And a lot of times it's me. My daughter, we have a bathhouse on the campground, so she'll often shower there. And so most of the water is washing dishes, kind of washing your hands and your face a little bit, drinking water or making tea, coffee, things like that. So just that use is about 35 gallons a week. And we'll say also, so our gray water tank, I didn't run a stack all the way through the roof. I didn't think it would, again, when I thought about the venting, I was like, well, gray water can't really smell that bad. And I can't say that I notice it when I am just sort of sitting around, but when I dump it, it definitely has an odor to it. So I know some people say, well, you can just dump gray water wherever, and which isn't always the case depending on state to state. I have a spot that I can dump it here, so it's not a big deal. But it definitely has an odor, and so it's not one of those things where I think you can just dump it around your site all the time. I think it would start to smell pretty rank, just the bacteria and stuff in the food particles from dishwater. So just keep that under advisement. I know it's something I wondered about when I first started building, but like I said, yeah, 35 gallons a week, 30 gallons a week, I suppose. And that's really without showering. I also wanted to mention something about the water as far as hot water. And I find that waiting for the cold water to turn hot takes about almost a half a gallon, a little bit more than half a gallon, sometimes close to 3/4 of a gallon. I'm not sure what's different, I guess it's dependent on how cold the water is to start. But I think in retrospect, it was a little bit easier for me because I have easy access to water, that I can fill up the tanks pretty well, and it's also pretty easy access to gray water disposal. However, I do go through more water than I probably would like if I was boondocking. So I may look into the system of I know there's a way to do some sort of bypass valve, and I may look into that just to save on water for the times I go boondocking. So the bathroom functions pretty well, although I can't say we use it a ton, I guess. I may be taking 3 or 4 showers over the course of the summertime, and again, works great actually. Hot water heater I finally got adjusted. Seemed like on the hot cold part I had to get it just right. If you made it too hot, then you mixed too much cold and there wasn't getting enough flow and it would shut down. So finally got that adjusted, so it seems to work pretty well. And we use more the urine diverter, mostly in the, if you get up in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning, but there's outhouses around that we use for the most part. And so we haven't really used the composting aspect of the toilet. Well, I haven't used the composting aspect of the toilet at all, even though we're set up for it, just because it's easier to deal with the outhouses. But we certainly do use the urine diverter. And then I think the reality is really the bathroom comes up as a drying rack. You know, it's all my paddling gear come in, and if I come in and change inside before I take it outside, it gets hung up over the shower curtain rod and towels and things like that. So certainly works much more like a drying rack as well, as opposed to the full bathroom. All right, so that is the 3-month overview review reality check of living in a bus. It's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. And again, we've been pretty stationary. It's not like we're moving around in this phase of our bus living. So I'll have to check in with a more road trip review later on. But if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Happy to answer and help any way I can. Thanks for watching. Certainly appreciate your support. Like, subscribe, do all those things you do, and I look forward to seeing you down the road. Thanks for watching.